Well, a tough one. Not many times you get to play two teams or a team twice in 4 days. Really like the matchup, and when you get yourself in a situation where you outshoot somebody 17-3, oftentimes you walk away from a game like that winning, and we didn't. So that was tough to swallow. But proud of our girls, proud of what they had to sort of go through throughout the year, and ending up not in ideal circumstances, having to play away from home, um, but they kept with it, and I think yesterday sort of epitomized the good and the bad from our season. We gave up some untimely goals. Last week we pride ourselves last 5 minutes of a half of overtime, what have you, and giving up a goal with 35 seconds left in the first overtime was tough, but battled back twice. Showed um, showed what we're capable of coming from behind twice, and I think there's a lot to be proud of. I mean, to finish fourth, to get a home playoff game, I think was great experience for our young group. We think our seniors, it was a good group that will be leaving us and going on to careers. But we're excited to get back to business here in a couple weeks and get our group stronger.
What does the off season look like, Coach? Because while things are back to normal in terms of like how many you have in each class, that's all kind of upside down for everybody. So how much does that change your job this
Yeah.
off season?
Well, we were talking about this. I think in a normal year, if you look at players throughout their careers, even our best players that started as freshmen, where they really develop, I think the most is where we see where they're at the end of the spring. We haven't had spring now for really 2 years, because right when we got to where we would have started playing games, we had the pandemic. Then they didn't really get an opportunity even to play in the summer when they went home. Then we come back in the fall, and the fall was kind of like what our spring is, and then the spring was what our fall normally is. So this year it's been crazy to cram in from basically Valentine's Day to now. We've played almost the equivalent of two fall seasons. So they haven't really had that. Well, that both the developmental period, like our spring will be, our off season will be, um, or kind of the downtime to get stronger and to really work at it. This past summer, we were just kind of hoping kids would stay fit and not get hurt, because you see, this is probably the most injuries I've seen, in talking to colleagues and everything. So our off season will be more strength training, and I'm really looking forward, because our of our kids that are left, we have 23, 17 of them are considered either freshmen or COVID freshmen. Neither have had a normal off season. So I think that'll be huge for us. And we'll play, we get five games, and so we'll use those. And I think it'll get us a real good opportunity to kind of get to know our team, on a different level than when you're jumping in with 2 feet like we have.
Where did your team grow the most this season, and is there one or two particular areas that you can point to and go, we definitely got to grow there?
Even though there are only 3 months that separated them, we were so I felt like we were so different in the spring than we were in the fall in terms of just defensively. We didn't give up. We didn't give up really more than maybe one or two soft goals that were just not goals you want to concede. And this year we gave up way too many. We were in games where we dominated. I think 2 or 3 of our best games this year in terms of possession and everything else, and just really taking it to an opponent, we lost 3-2, 2-0, and 2-0. So, that's got to change. We need to be a little bit more stingy. But I think where we grew the most was, knowing that we can be pretty good. Just being. I think we grew in confidence, and that was hard because we were playing well and not winning. So you don't always see that confidence grow. And I think that's where I saw it the most. Once we started to get rewarded and we started scoring some goals and winning some games, then you saw that's where we played our best soccer. And I think that was the reason. They just kind of kept grinding and found a way. And, you know, I mean, they're all disappointed because they realized we were so much better. But that's soccer. That's what we signed up for. We know oftentimes games end up like that where you don't win and you probably should have. So, but a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. Thank you.
Next up, we'll have cross country. Kiki Kana led the way for the Panthers at the MVC Championships. She earned a spot on the all-conference team with a 10th place finish. And next up for both the men's and women's teams is the NCAA Regional. That'll be hosted in Iowa City on November 12th. Up next, Coach Paulsen.
So we were at Illinois State for the NBC Championships. It was quite wet and cold. I think it rained there a couple days. It was real sloppy. The course held up pretty well, so it was less of a factor than we thought maybe it would be coming in. But on the women's side, Kiki Connell had a great race. She finished 10th overall, which is all conference honors. For her to do that as a true freshman is absolutely outstanding. It's a stacked conference on the women's side of things, and so she just was real consistent all year, put herself in the mix, positioned herself right where she needed to be, and then was able to hold on for that 10th place finish there. Overall as a team, we definitely didn't do as well as we had hoped going in. We finished 8th overall, and so when you look at that, we were 2 points out of 6th, and so we were close to being more middle of the pack. I think the lack of experience with our overall top 5 kind of hurt us a little bit. We just didn't get ourselves positioned where we needed to be in the race, and when you do that at a championship meet, you can't put yourself in too big of a hole to work it back. And so a mile in, we were just positioned maybe 15 spots as a pack further back than we needed to be in that moment, and so that just kind of ended up biting us. In the end, we made some progress as the race went on. We ran a really strong second half, but we just gave ourselves too big of a deficit to overcome there. So the good news is I think we're a lot closer than the score indicates as far as how much better we can be as a team. And so, the message is just really, we got 2 weeks to get back to the regional meet down in Iowa City. We get to see a lot of the conference schools down there. And so I think that the challenge for us is to be, let's get some of those teams that got us this weekend and just put ourselves in it more from the beginning and just put ourselves as a team in a better spot so we can run the second half of the race and be in a better place to finish a lot stronger. On the men's side, Sam McCool had a really good race for us. He was just 2 spots out of earning all conference honors there, and so he has been very consistent as the year has gone as well. Again, with the guys, we're really young. We had, I think, 4 out of our top 6 guys are freshmen, and so I just think, getting that experience under our belts, it's not a weekend where you can have a couple guys being off, and we just had some guys that were, more consistent earlier on that didn't run the best of their ability this weekend, and that's part of the game, and so that's where we're at, and so we just got to get better. Again, we have an opportunity to get out there in 2 weeks and take on some of those conference schools that we were really close to, and so it's a really resilient group of athletes that we have on the team, and so I know they're chomping at the bit to get back at work and see if we can knock some of those teams off that got us this weekend. But any questions regarding cross country?
Yeah, when it comes to preparing for regionals this time of year, late in the season, because you fell short of your expectations, how do you go about weighing against, maybe putting some physical demands on improvement versus maybe a little bit less, lightening that workload and maybe more mental preparation?
I mean, the work will be physically about the same, and it's just, I think for us the mistakes that were made were tactically, and I think just really making sure we understand where we need to be when that, earlier in the race. And I think if we do that, then I think physically, we're right where we need to be. I just think it was a position thing and a tactical mistake that we made as a group. And so I think we get that figured out, then we'll be in a lot better position to knock off some teams that got us this weekend.
And that's the same course that you ran on in September?
Yep, same course. So it's always nice when you get to go back. So that's why we go to, anytime there's a regional meet close by, we would try to get down there to see the course. And they'll be very familiar with it, so that should definitely help us there. And then the light travel, 80 minutes to Iowa City is a lot nicer. We went to Oklahoma State a couple years ago. That's like a 10-hour bus ride, so this is a lot better to be close to home. So looking forward to getting another opportunity to get out there for sure. And then the indoor track season's only 5 weeks away too, so that's exciting too. We got the fall track team rocking and rolling, and really looking forward to getting a meet in before they head home for winter break. All right, go Panthers.
So for the second consecutive week, UNI had a Panther honored for MVFC Special Teams Player of the Week honors, Nate Murphy's punting performance over the weekend. UNI took down another top 10 opponent in number 3, Southern Illinois. The win has moved UNI up in the rankings. They are now number 13. Up next, we have Coach Farley.
Cole's press conference. Go for it.
So what stuck out with your film study, and maybe in particular, that's some valuable tape because of the challenge that Baker presented your defense?
Yeah, there was a lot of things that happened in that game that we can learn from by watching the tape. What I feel good about the football game, just in a quick reference to it, is, we came out, we got the quick turnover, and didn't convert the points like we wanted to. Got 3 instead of 7. So that set you back. And then they got us on our heels. They hit us on a couple double moves on our DBs and got behind us. The resilience is what to talk about, because through that we get into halftime and we scored those 3 points right before halftime. They were huge to get that game within 7. And then to make the adjustments at halftime and then convert that run coming out of half. And I believe Bradrick ran for 66 yards in the third quarter, which really established ourselves going into the fourth quarter to win the game. Defensively, played well for the majority of all snaps, and then had to sustain that drive at the end. And I knew they were going to be in that situation, or I just felt the game would go to that because of what's their routine was, and it came down to the last 4 plays of the game from the 9-yard line, and made 4 outstanding plays by our secondary and our linebacker Riley, and just a well-played game and a start to finish.
You mentioned after the game you got into 12 personnel there in the second half. You played a lot of 11 so far this season, so was it just kind of one of those things where you were just going to say our best against your best, thinking that maybe going into 12 they would know you were going to want to run the ball?
Well, yeah, when we get in 12, they know they're going to, they knew it. I mean, probably every fan knew it. But when I saw it was in the first half, we really couldn't establish anything with consistency. We were hitting runs here and there, but you really had to be able to hang your hat on something so you could start moving the ball, through a 12-play drive instead of a couple good plays and a couple bad plays. So I just felt we had to establish something. I felt against that particular defense, that was the best way to go. Other defenses that we've been playing, the 11 personnel has been our best group out there, and that's who we are. But in that particular situation, maybe that was the change-up that we needed coming out of the half. That's something new and different they had to adjust to. And when we did that, it put them on their heels long enough that we could win the third quarter and then play out the fourth.
Special teams has obviously been really effective the last couple of weeks. You mentioned after South Dakota State you made some changes in practice. What can you tell us about who leads the special teams group? Because you don't have a designated special teams coach, so who's really instrumental in terms of special teams?
Well, everybody has their own segment. Coach Johnson takes care of, basically he's with the punters pre-practice, so he takes care of the punters and the snappers pre-practice. And to note on that is Murph got player of the week for special teams, averaged 49 per punt, really swung that field, because those extra 10 yards on field position in a game like that is everything. And he did a tremendous job. As far as the punt team, Jeremiah Johnson has the punt team. We share the punt return team. That's kind of a defensive unit. That's a defensive play. Coach Pop's got the kickoff return, and Coach Vokalek's got the kickoff. So we've kind of established ourselves as these are defensive plays, because you're defending returners, kickoff, and punt return. So it's majority of defensive players, and we just configured how you think about special teams, those are defensive plays. If they're special teams plays, you think they're a different unit. Now they're defensive plays because that play is just as important as, if you're giving up 10 yards on a return, you're giving up 10 yards on a run. So take the same pride in special teams as you do in your other plays. And then when you say special teams, everybody thinks kicker, snapper, holder. And Cook has been playing very, very good the past couple of weeks. He's been very consistent. And then, of course, Murphy in the punting has really stepped up. And Simpson is always the one that's got to snap it to him to hit it on time to keep the timing right. So we're lucky to have those three. And they coach themselves, honestly. They put in time with the group maybe for 15 minutes of practice of a 2-hour practice, and then they have to go do their thing outside of that to make sure they're ready for their fundamentals when it's their time to kick.
What about Nate Murphy's development really sticks out to you? You go back a couple of years, and him and Zach Kibbe are kind of trading off a bit at that position. And obviously here over the past couple seasons, this in the spring, he's really claimed that spot and seems to just continue to improve.
He's claimed the spot because, and Kibbe's still the backup there, but he's claimed the spot because that's all he does all day long. Kibbe plays defense all day long, does all those things for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, where Murph for 2.5 hours works on punting, works on all the things that go along with that, the right mental set to go with it. And that's why he's probably the one that you look to the most of. You say, so who's running the special teams? You got to put Murph as one of those people because he and Cook get together and Simpson, and they're off in the corner working holds, working snaps individually, and then working the entire unit together, snap, hold, and kick as a progression. So that stuff goes on daily. They have their routine on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday they hold to, and they do a great job because they are self-managed to a degree.
Practice facility outdoors has probably been a help to them too, I would imagine, this season.
It's been huge. The outdoor field has been huge. No one will ever know the difference that it made. I did. I called the gentleman who gifted us that on my drive home from the game. I called him to the South Dakota State game because we got a chance to go outside and to practice in these elements. It makes all the difference in the world to how you're going to play on Saturday. When we only had the dome, you get a bad day, you just don't get climatized and getting off a bus and playing a game. If you do it all week long, you kind of get conditioned to the wind, to the temperature, to the hardness of the ball. All those things change with temperature, and we have that now that we can go out. We'll go out there tonight, turn the lights on. We don't have to worry about daylight savings time. We don't have to worry about dust coming in. We can run our practice when we want. We can have meetings at the same time. It is just you can't even compare it of the ease that it gives the coach to get ready for a practice by having that field.
Injury-wise, let's just start with Justin Piney. Any sort of update on him?
No real update on any of these guys. I've got the word what it was on Sunday, but today will be the first day I've seen him since the game. We took yesterday off, and we've been on a run here, so we were going to come back and practice, but we have to have Tuesday off. That's the difference this year. So we were going to go Sunday, Monday, but after that, those past 2 weeks, I gave him Sunday off, so I won't see him till this afternoon.
How about we just go about it this way in terms of Isaiah, Juan, Omar? Would any of those guys fall into maybe less than a questionable
No.
status for Saturday? Would any of those three be doubtful for Saturday, would you say?
No, I'd keep them only questionable. Questionable is the right place to have them. I don't know if I'd put anybody in doubtful, even Piney, but his was more significant just because of how he came off the field. I'd put them all in that questionable. There's a little bit of hope behind the questionable too when I say that, but I put them all in the questionable category.
Jaden Scott was one you hadn't ruled out for the season when he went down earlier this year. How's Jaden?
He's coming back around, but he's probably 2 weeks out yet. He had surgery, so he's got to get the strength back in, and he's out there working out. He's not in pads yet. He's not doing that yet, but he's on the grass running. So he's out of the water. Now he's onto the grass, which is a progression. So, but it just has to get more stabilized before you can go out there and really get in the games that we're getting in.
When it comes to some of the guys who have been stepping into these spots, what would you say about Tyson Kershaw, Stephon Black, Edwin Dearman? I think we saw some of Ben Belkin on Saturday too.
Yeah. Flater went down in that particular game, and Ben Belkin goes out there. So Ben was third on the chart when we started this thing, but Ben played a significant role in that game. The guy that stood out the most, it was Stephon Black. Stephon Black was the one that went after, in the corner of that end zone 4 times, they went after the freshman corner with the #1 receiver in numbers, and Stephen did an outstanding job. That last throw and that last play he made was a senior-type play, and that was a freshman against a senior, and an elite play of how he timed that thing up. So Stephon Black did a great job. Ben did a great job. We had, you go to Sergio and Sam Schnee, you could put in that category, and TK. I mean, all those guys had to step up because we had lost Isaiah and Quan, and they were dropping out, and we had 2 more quarters to play in a big football game. So, yeah, a lot of good things happened that day, and Roper went in and played guard for us, and he's a tackle. So we got 2 guards out now at that position. So we lost Piney. He was very helpful, but 2 weeks ago we had lost Amos, and so we had to take our tackle and make him a guard, and he really stepped in and did a nice job. So it's how do I say it? It's problematic when you lose guys like that because it makes your game plan a little different. But when the next guy steps in and makes plays, you feel good about your football team because you stay in your game plan, and the guys are making plays when they get opportunities, and that's what this is about.
I think it's been a couple weeks since we asked you about Theo. The numbers may not be gaudy, but he's been a part of the last couple wins, made some throws when they're there. These last 3 regular season games, has the staff, Theo, have you guys really kind of identified what you're hoping to see out of him with what's left in the regular season?
What I'd say about Theo was he's made some errors. The last 2 intercepts in the 4th quarter, as a defensive coach, I'm not happy about because we got to go out and defend that. But we've got his back on that deal because he's really been playing in a way to win games. And when I say that, his extending plays and running for first downs has swung games, and that's how you win games. You got to hit the guys that are open. You got to make the plays when they're there as a quarterback. You got to make the right reads to get the ball, whether you hand it off or throw it. All that stuff is split-second stuff, and all those guys that are getting numbers, it's because of his decisions that he's made as it's unfolding. But the plays that you will see him make that swing a game, whereas when he starts running for those first downs on 3rd and 8, when everybody's covered and he gets 12, those are the ones that really aggravate a defense because you've done everything right, and then he gets that extra yard on you. And that's what their quarterback did. And so it was, can you contain the quarterbacks on their runs as much as handle them in the passing game? And Theo gives us that element that make the decision to throw it, not always be the runner, but take the run when it's there.
Well, what's the scouting report on Illinois State?
Illinois State is, they're always good, and they're always, you got to go to Illinois State on top of it, but they've always been one of the better teams in this league, and they're always a strong team, and I don't even know where they're at record-wise and things like that this year because I always see them as Illinois State is a top team in this league, is a top 10 team, is a top 10 program year in and year out, and they always have that capability every time they line up on the field against you. So, yeah, they're going to play that odd front that they really got good at in the past couple of years. That makes them unique, and then offensively, they can spread things out and do some things throwing the football. So they're always a handful, and they're usually one of the better running teams in the league because they usually have an NFL tailback somewhere on that roster over all the years. All right, thanks. One-on-one, man. We could have went to lunch.
Cole might take lunch.
I don't have time for lunch today.
Swimming and diving wrapped up with competition at home. With a 171-53 win over Valpo on Senior Day, they begin road travel now to the Coyote Extravaganza before they will return home way back in Iowa to host the MVC Championships in Iowa City starting February 16th. So up next, we have Coach Nick Lakin.
Yeah, so really good day overall against Valpo. So we won 13 out of the 13 events. Taylor Hogan had a really special day on the diving board. She had a lifetime best on the 1 meter and then came back really strong and won the 3 meter as well. And I think just overall, just kind of spoke to the depth that we've continued to develop this year. So we had 3 freshmen win events. 2 of those were the first wins of their career. Olivia Chambers in the 4 IM, and then Emma Levine in the 200 IM, and then Faith Larson, who had won the 50 free every meet, went the 100 fly and won that. And then Natalia Verostegui ended up winning the 50 free and the 500, so she showed some really good range there. She's usually a 100, 200 freestyler. And then Amber had a lifetime best in the 200 freestyle, which we usually don't see this time of year. So really felt good going into this weekend where we'll see 6 other teams up in Sioux Falls, and feel like we've got a lot of depth, and much more so than we have had in the past. So feeling pretty good going into Sioux Falls.
You're getting toward the back half of your schedule. You know, what are you needing to figure out on the back half of that schedule before championship?
Yeah. So we feel like we addressed a lot of that this weekend. So we're looking for a lot of relay pieces. So we kind of know who the top 1 or 2 kids in every event is going to be, and we're looking to kind of sort out the rest. And like the 50 freestyle, we had 4 people within a tenth of a second. So really trying to see who kind of continues to take those steps forward and kind of fill in those relay spots as they're getting really competitive.
Sounds like practice is really competitive. Do you maybe have to step in sometimes to keep everybody, energized and healthy?
No, they've done a really good job this year, and really all of the ladies we have on the team this year really kind of really encourage each other and kind of enjoy the environment that's being created. So we already have some natural splits with our different training groups. So no, we're feeling pretty good about it. Thanks.